Rachele, do you want to talk a little bit about why you're so passionate about this topic and what you've been able to do for the elderly?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about both children and adults,
Okay.
and just in general how engaging with the fascial system can help to prevent injury. So, I'm going to give a brief overview of the fascial system, but before I do, why I kind of want to talk about both spectrums. I looked up a couple of stats. So in the U.S., there's 30 million children and teens that participate in organized sports, and 3.5 million of those children have injuries every year. And most of those injuries are sprains and strains, which can really be prevented a lot of times. And with the elderly, a fact from back in 2009, or sorry, 2019, so not that long ago, there was 3 million ER visits in adults that were 65 and older for falls. And of those 3 million ER visits, 34,000 deaths. The number one falls is the number one cause of injury deaths for adults 65 plus. So, injuries, keeping yourself healthy and your fascial system moving well is really important. So, knowing those facts and that it's important to prevent injury, just to kind of back up a little bit. So, in our bodies, we have a system called the fascial system. It's a three-dimensional connective tissue web that runs continuous from head to toe, front to back, side to side. And it's a system that basically holds us all together, holds all of our other systems together, our muscular system, our nervous system, our circulatory system. It's like the architecture of our body. If we think of it like this little ball here, the system should glide and move freely and smoothly as we move. But often what happens is we'll get restrictions in that web, in a structure. And if we get a restriction, then that web doesn't quite move the way it needs to. And it restricts the things around it that need to do what they do. So if it should move freely and allow our muscles to be able to perform certain activities, let's say, then we're in good shape. But when we get restrictions from different things, and restrictions can be from falls, from all different types of injuries, from different traumas. And the trauma doesn't have to be a physical trauma; it can be an emotional trauma as well. So undue stress is just one example, or an actual like big life event like the stress or the trauma of a divorce or the trauma of a loss of a loved one. Those things kind of get stuck in our bodies and cause tightness and restrictions in our fascia. And those restrictions then can and often do wind up becoming physical symptoms and physical limitations. So that older adult that falls in older adults is multifactorial. There's so many things that can contribute to falls in older adults. Poor vision, polypharmacy, such as being on way too many medications, low light in their home, safety issues. There's so many things that can cause falls with older adults. But you can imagine if they have those things, like they don't have good vision, their balance is poor, their home isn't as safe as they need to be. And now on top of it, their bodies are tight and non-pliable. When they go to trip, if they trip or they stumble on something, they have no recourse to catch themselves. So the fall actually happens instead of being able to catch themselves and not fall. So being able to have that fascial system that's open and free and lets your body move is really important. And the same thing with kids, especially now, kids younger and younger are being, are doing sports like very specific, year round, the same sport. And those overuse injuries can cause, overusing the same body part over and over again can really cause injury to the child. So keeping them mobile and balanced is super important. So when I work with my clients, whether they're children, adolescents, or older adults, we're looking at the whole system, the whole body. How is it moving? How is it functioning? And making sure that their body can move and do the things that it needs to do to prevent injury. And through working hands-on in the office, and then, a very specific individualized home program where they work on these same types of things at home to open up their fascial system and keep them as movable and pliable and flexible as possible is really, really important to what I do with my patients.